Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome back to my channel, y'all. I had a thought earlier, and it was the fact that, like, even though we cannot choose all the things that happen in our life, or we cannot control all the things that happen in our life, we can control our response to them. And so this video is called Pity or Purpose because I wanted to dive into how the things that the enemy has meant for bad or meant for harm or meant for death, God can turn those and use them for his good. For his good and his glory. And that is just a huge testament. So I want to talk through that today because I don't know about you, but I've gone through a lot in my life, had a lot of obstacles. And in those moments, sometimes I'm like, I don't know, God, how you can even use this, but if you can, here you go. Sometimes it's not even a thought. Sometimes I'm just like, God, I'm miserable, help me. So anyway, I want to talk through that about how God can use the very thing that the enemy meant to kill you for your actual purpose, a launching pad for your purpose. So let's hop in. So if you're like me, you've gone through a lot in your life, you've faced a lot of obstacles, you've faced a lot of challenges, some that you kind of wiggled yourself into and some that were completely out of your control and that happened more so to you, right? And so I always like to think of like, okay, God, how can you work through me in this situation for the good of other people, the good of myself, the good of you and the kingdom, God. If you don't know my story, and if you haven't been around for a while, hey, and I'm so glad you're here on this channel, and I hope you decide to stick around and join the community. So a little bit about me is I was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Okay, north side, okay, T-town. Anyway, I was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I was raised in a two-parent household. I was also raised in the church since I was, I don't know how old, little baby, I guess. And so I used to go to church with my grandparents and my mom, and pretty much in kindergarten, I knew something was going on with my mom. I knew she had been sick for the majority of my life. And so, you know, as time progressed, you know, I learned that she had breast cancer. And so she had breast cancer for a good chunk of my life, and then it went into remission and it actually came back. So when I was 13 years old, I was actually live here in Dallas now, but I was visiting Dallas with my aunt and uncle. And one morning they woke me up at like 4 a.m. and they said, hey, Andrea, we need to talk to you. And reminder, I'm 13 years old. Okay. And I'm in Dallas with my grandma. So that's a very important piece of this puzzle. So I'm in town in Dallas with my grandma, just me and my grandma. And then of course we were visiting my aunt and uncle. So my aunt and uncle woke me up that morning and they were like, hey, Andrew, we're to talk to you. Your dad has actually passed away. And when I tell y'all, it was like a knife went in, twisted, stuck back in, went up the other way. It was a lot going on. Okay. And I was like, the first thought was like, so I'm never gonna see my dad again. So like, what about fishing? Am I never gonna go fishing again? And to this day, I actually haven't fished since it was with him, actually. And so that happened when I was 13 years old. So we fly back, of course, to Tulsa, and they're with my family. They're with my mom, of course. My mom was the one that found him, and that's the whole thing. So anywho, then about 3 months later, I remember my mom had been sick for the majority of my life, and the cancer had come back. And it came back pretty viciously. And so actually, a big chunk of my childhood was actually spent in the Cancer Treatment Centers of America. And it's so interesting looking back on it. I didn't even think twice. Like it was so normal to me that I didn't really think twice about it. I used to be excited to go because they had some good frozen yogurt and they had computers I could get on. Okay. And so I was on MySpace. Okay. Just like the mind of a child. Okay. So anyway, 3 months later, I am sitting in my living room at my house, and my mom was on hospice, and I'm watching her from my fireplace. I remember exactly where I was. I was sitting in my fireplace having a direct line sight to my mom laying out on the table. This is my last living parent, you know what I mean? And as I was watching her chest go up and down, there was a final time where I saw her chest no longer rise. And it's interesting because I'm actually filming this on Mother's Day. So this is very interesting to kind of talk about all of it. But my point of all that to say is that day my mom passed away. And the first thought that I had was, I've lost my best friend. I'm now parentless in this huge world, and I feel like I'm by myself. And I will tell you guys, I'm so thankful that I knew God from a young age, because when I tell y'all, he wrapped his arms around me, my family wrapped their arms around me, and by the grace of God, I'm standing here in front of you guys today. I have one heck of a story, and it doesn't stop there, but I'll stop there for the sake of the for the sake of the length of the video. But I say all this to say is, in that moment, in those moments following, I had a choice. It was either to run towards God or it was to run away from God. And God was all I knew, and God was there for me through all of it. And so my choice was to run towards God, and it was the best decision I've ever made. And so, yeah, that's kind of like back into my story. But the reason why I tell you all that is, never in a million years would I have thought in that moment that God, you know what I mean? Like, I'm okay with this happening because I know you're going to use it for your good. That was never the thought. My thought, there was moments where I was mad at God. There were moments where I was like frustrated. I was pissed. Like, there was so many things going on. Like, my entire life flipped upside down in a matter of 3 months. My entire life. I moved from Tulsa to Dallas. That's how I got to Dallas. Everything flipped. Like, my dogs were left in Tulsa. My best friend, my family, everybody was still in Tulsa. And like, I grew up and I was raised with my family who was in Tulsa. And then me moving to Dallas, it was just like a huge culture shock. And then kind of another thing that was a culture shock too was the fact that I grew up on the black side of the ethnic side of Tulsa. And then I get to Dallas, in the suburb of Dallas, and boy, I was like one of 4 black kids. And I was like, what is this? Okay. All of this to say, you guys, I had a choice in that moment of, am I going to choose to run towards God or away from God? And I chose to run towards him. And I don't believe that choice was all on my own. I believe that was the grace and the mercy of God protecting me in my mind, through the whole process of all of that. So I give all the credit, all the glory to God in this situation, even the fact that I can stand here today and talk to you guys about this topic. All that to say is, God was able to use that as a launching pad to what I believe is my purpose today. What is my actual calling? And I'm not saying that had to happen in order for all of this to kind of come about, but I'm not saying that it didn't have to happen. Like, I don't know. And there's so many things in life that we're just never going to have the answer to, because God's thoughts are above our thoughts, and what he allows is above the way we think at all. But all that to say, like, I have allowed God to use my story for his glory and my good. And honestly, he's used what the enemy meant to take me out, to absolutely kill me, honey. Okay? To absolutely destroy me. I should not be in my right mind today. He's used that. God has used that for his good and his glory. And that's what I'm saying for you too. Like, that was not a situation that I put myself in, that I could have done anything to prevent at all. But it's something that happened to me. And so if there's something that happened to you in your life and you're still struggling with it, that's okay. This video is not to say stop struggling, get over it, whatever. No. Like, you're allowed to feel those feelings. You're allowed to have those moments. You're allowed to have those feelings. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm telling you, whether you're in the midst of it, whether you are on the outer skirts of it, whatever, if you allow God to use it, he will. He can literally turn the thing that the enemy meant to take you out as your launching pad to your purpose and to your calling, for other people's good, for your good, for his glory, for all the different things, you guys. So when it comes to pity versus purpose, there's a way that you can stay in a state of pity. Now, I am not saying there is a place of healing. There's a place of letting God do his work in you. So I am not saying that you like mourning over something for longer than 2 days is pity. That's not what I'm saying. So hear me, hear my heart, and hear what I'm really trying to say. If you allow God to use it, he can use it for your purpose. He can use it for your calling. You may be like, how in the world? What does that look like? Okay. For me, for example, like, am I out here as a grief counselor? No, I'm not. So it doesn't have to be like directly correlated to the actual thing, but me sharing my story with you all is what I believe God has asked me to do. And so many other things that are tied with that, to be a light, to be inspiration, to come out here and share the glory of God that I've experienced and his mercy and his grace. Those are the things that I believe I've been called to do. And there's various different avenues that he's allowed me to do that. One is YouTube, one is Instagram, one is just my platform as a whole. And so, yeah, so if you allow him to use it, he can use it for your actual purpose. Okay, so it's purpose versus pity. Pity is the thing where you're running away from God, you're mad at God, and you're going to stay there for a few years, and you can't figure out where God is or why you can't hear God, and the whole time you're mad at him and you don't want to hear him. You've silenced his voice, you're upset. And I get that. I understand that because I've been there, and I'm telling you, turning to God to hear his voice, to hear his direction, though you may never get an actual why he allowed certain things to happen or why he didn't stop certain things, that doesn't mean he's not still good. And I said it in another video of like, if you walk into every situation and recite to yourself, God is a good God, God is a good God, God is a good God, no matter what is happening around you, no matter what situation has happened, has come to pass, and to know God is a good God, I promise you, he will move that thing for you. He will turn it around for you. Whether or not he stops that thing you've been praying against or not, he will allow it to be for your good. And I keep saying that over and over and over again, because I don't know where you are right now. I don't know if you're in the midst of the storm, if you're about to go into the storm, or you're on the outer skirts of the storm. I don't know where you're at, but I'm telling you right now, if you allow him, he will do it. So the best way to allow him to do that is my next step, which is to surrender what has happened to you, to get into counseling, to get in a community group, talk about what you've gone through, but allow God to use that thing. And you do that through surrenderance, to say, okay, God, I didn't want this to happen. I'm kind of mad at you that you allowed it to happen, but I'm gonna talk to you about it. You know what I mean? Like, God's not afraid of you being mad at him. God's not afraid of your feelings. You're not gonna offend him. You're not gonna offend him. He already know your thoughts. He already know you mad. So you just confirming it and saying it. You know what I mean? Like, he already knows that, okay? He knows our thoughts, okay? He knows how we feel. So surrendering whatever that is that has happened to you, to allow God to use that. You have to allow that. Name one thing that God has done on this earth that he has not partnered up with a human being to bring to pass. Name one thing. One thing. There's not one thing that he has not brought to this earth through a human being, right? Now, I'm not talking about like the creation and like him creating everything like in the beginning. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the miracles and the signs and the wonders that you see in the Bible. He's partnered up with a man or a woman to bring that to pass on the earth, right? He needs your help. He needs your willingness. He needs your surrenderance to say, listen, God, I don't like that this happened. I don't like that you allowed this to happen. I'm still a little upset at you that you allowed this to be my life, right? Like, but I'm going to allow you to use it. What would you like me to do, Lord? Have your way, your will, your way, your timing, right? So surrender to him, okay? Now I want to also say too, you didn't deserve to get hurt, to be abused, to be heartbroken, to be absolutely like just ran over in a certain situation. You didn't deserve that, okay? And God didn't want that. We live in a fallen world, and there are things that happen. But I'm telling you that even though right now you may not know how this can be turned for good in any way, shape, or form, I promise you, if you surrender to God and you allow him, he will do it for you. Okay? So I love you to the moon and back. If this video has been helpful, let me know. Okay? Let me know down below. And also let me know if you've decided to choose pity or purpose. Okay? It's okay if you're still in the pity stage. That's okay. You have time. There is grace for that, okay? There is a time where everything will flip for you, okay? And that may be over time, it may be in a moment, you never know. But let me know where you're at, okay? Let me know. Let me know down below in the comment section, okay? I love you to the moon and back, and I'll see you guys in the next video, all right? Bye.